What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 18. Now, let's begin. Under the guidance of Shuhei Hisagi and Hotaru Kanizawa, Naruto navigated through various sections, each resonating with the ongoing confrontation between students and dummy hollows. More than 50% of the students in Class 1 faced challenges when confronting even the least formidable hollows, which is expected for individuals with only a few months of training. Renji is managing well. The student could face dire consequences if Aizen unleashes his hollows. They may consider it if you are not preoccupied with Momo in a rather unrefined manner. Nami's candid remarks consistently brought him amusement. Uncomplicated to an extreme, she embodied her devastating fire with precision. However, it may be prudent for him to avoid making any drastic moves at this stage. He, however, could not dismiss the persistent suspicion. Why'd I have a feeling he will? Aizen successfully orchestrated the deaths of thousands to awaken the Hogyoku. What prevented him from executing another significant plan? The timeline experienced a significant alteration due to his presence. Muramasa, who remained elusive to Naruto within the Soul Society, introduced numerous unforeseen variables independently. I find myself in a state of uncertainty. On one hand, we will finally experience some activity. Conversely, all individuals we are acquainted with in Karakura town will face potential danger. Our bold daughter is challenging my patience once more. Quiet, please. Please rest assured and do not concern yourself with any issues. Setting aside his concerns, he accompanied Shuhei to a discreet area of the compound, which appeared to be a facility designated for the storage of various equipment. This section has been prepared for you by Vice Captain Aiz. Hotaru nodded, maintaining a demeanor that matched Shuhei's seriousness. This represents one of the most challenging training missions to date, particularly for your Class 1. Naruto focused intently. Each student was required to engage with a single dummy hollow, while their group was assigned a section containing approximately 20 dummy hollows, each possessing more than double the Ryotsu of the others. The entire 6th year cohort would face challenges in this situation, much less a group of 3 first-year students. I appreciate Neneo's high regard for me, he said with a chuckle. Are these dummies not challenging to create? Is it wise to allocate them to our group? Only the specialists from the 12th squad are capable of creating them. It is indeed peculiar that they would discard them for your assessment, especially considering you have already been appointed as a seated officer. Even Hotaru expressed doubts regarding the arrangement. The entire trial was unnecessary, as he had clearly demonstrated his capabilities. It's merely a matter of procedures, Momo stated softly as she took hold of his arms and offered a gentle nudge from behind. We should expedite this process. It's essential that we conduct a thorough inspection of the town afterward. She eagerly anticipated the opportunity to spend quality time with him during this significant trip. Toshiro participated, and together they propelled Naruto into the darkened structure. In the midst of obscurity, their Shinigami eyes effortlessly illuminated the shadows. As soon as they entered, 3 grotesque, toad-like hollows descended from the ceiling, their whip-like tongues striking out. Naruto responded with instinctive precision, grasping the tongues and pulling them towards himself. The dummy hollows presented no opposition, devoid of the survival instinct inherent in all living creatures. They were designed solely for one purpose, to engage Shinigami with maximum aggression. Allow Momo and me to manage the situation, Toshiro stated, his form swiftly transitioning into action. As he sheathed his katana, the mask of the dummy hollows disintegrated, transforming into black ashes. Toshiro remained alert, his gaze scanning for the other dummies. Suddenly, a swarm of bat-like hollows appeared from the shadows, unleashing a barrage of bullets composed of condensed Ryotsu. While the ability may not have matched the strength of Sero or Bala, Toshiro recognized the necessity of avoiding injury and maintaining his pace. He elevated his katana to intercept a barrage of Ryotsu bullets. Subsequently, employing his Shunpo technique, he swiftly closed the distance and eliminated 2 hollows in a matter of moments. The remaining individuals dispersed and encircled him, once more directing waves of Ryotsu attacks towards him. These types of dummy hollows were designed to familiarize students with the dynamics of flying and agile hollows, or to challenge students in a controlled environment. Toshiro clenched his jaw and employed Shunpo once more to pursue them. A limited number of uses of Shunpo left him breathless. Unlike experienced practitioners, He was unable to utilize Shunpo more than a few times. Do you require assistance, Shiro? Naruto-kun, allow us to handle this. Momo stepped forward and extended her hands. A significant quantity of Riryoku coursed through her essence, surrounding her hands with crimson Ryotsu. Shiro, please proceed. Hado number 4. Byakurai, Pale Lightning. Executing a Kido spell without incantation after only 1 week of practice. Naruto anticipated nothing short of this from Momo. The credit is also due to Nanao for dedicating time and effort to train Momo. Toshiro adeptly sidestepped, narrowly evading the intense red blast of Momo's Kido spell. The beam effectively incinerated the dummies, resulting in the sole remnants of black ashes. The range of her spell was extensive, although its area of effect was constrained. Momo concentrated her attention, skillfully directing the beam from one bat to the next. The majority of the hollows disintegrated upon contact, however, 3 managed to survive. Their bodies started to expand unnaturally, creating the impression that they might rupture at any moment. The 3 hollows advanced towards Naruto, Momo, and Toshiro. Naruto's instincts issued a clear alert. There was an irregularity. These dummies were exhibiting unusual behavior. With a decisive movement, he lifted Momo onto his shoulder, quickly moved toward Toshiro, and placed him onto his other shoulder. He promptly exited through the nearest window. Behind them, the inflated dummies detonated with force, splattering the interior of the building with a thick, white substance. He had a thorough understanding of the unpleasant odor. Hollow essence. A chilling sensation coursed down Naruto's spine. He acted promptly. Any delay, and Momo and Toshiro would have encountered the full impact of the explosion. The contaminated hollow essence would have infiltrated their bodies via the exposed wound. Individuals possessing elevated levels of Riryoku would have undergone a similar hollowification process as the visored, becoming mindless hollows with the Ryotsu classification of vice captain and captain, or, in a more dire scenario, falling victim to soul suicide due to the immense pressure exerted on them. That cunning individual modified the dummy hollows. Was he specifically directing his attention towards you or the 2 of them? Everyone involved. Toshiro and Momo broke free from his hold and turned to survey the structure where the hollows detonated. The boy with silver hair rested his chin in his hand, displaying a look of confusion. What is that white liquid? It appears quite unappealing. Meanwhile, Momo observed Naruto's face with quiet contemplation. A prolonged observation of him has provided a profound insight into his expressions. She had not previously observed him with such a serious expression. Her intuition indicated that something was fundamentally amiss. The dummy hollows were not intended to behave in such a manner. The explosion represented a deliberate effort to inflict harm upon them. A calculated attempt at assassination. The revelation sent a chill through her veins. Nevertheless, she overcame her emotional challenges to identify the individual intent on harming him. She will ensure that the individual is held accountable for their actions. Naruto-kun, she said softly, pulling at his sleeve. Might it be the nobles? He was taken aback by her keen insight. He gently placed an arm around her waist, drawing her nearer while affectionately stroking her hair. No, they lack the courage. Then who would that be? I am uncertain. I would like both of you to proceed as if this incident did not occur. The ongoing conflict throughout the power plant effectively concealed the sound of the explosion. Toshiro's brows knitted together in confusion. Ni-san, is it not advisable to report this incident? Shiro, he stated with authority. I will provide my reasoning at a later time. For now, please follow my instructions. Are you able to do that? Toshiro exhaled deeply and acknowledged with a nod. Acknowledged, Ni-san. Momo, could you please? Momo's response was more intense. She held onto him, her body drawing near, as if in search of solace or possibly providing it. Your request is my priority, Naruto-kun. I will always comply with your wishes. That is quite amusing. This individual exhibits a playful and adventurous nature. Meow. Yoruichi gracefully landed beside him and gently licked his face. What is that unpleasant-smelling liquid? You have arrived later than expected, he remarked, gazing down at her with an expression of disappointment. Yoruichi, please escort Shiro and Renji to Rangaku and Nanao. I will be going out with Momo. Naruto navigated the serene and reflective streets of Karakura town, accompanied by Momo. He found himself contemplating the recent incident. He maintained this belief. which now seems somewhat naive, that Aizen would refrain from directly targeting any captain until the eve of his grand plan. However, today, Aizen displayed a significantly more ruthless demeanor in comparison to the original event where he was experimenting with his hollows. Upon thorough examination of various theories, he concluded with two key reasons. The initial thought that Aizen had somehow uncovered his secret as a hollow was promptly disregarded. The situation did not conform to Aizen's typical approach. This revelation would transform Naruto from a target into an object of significant, potentially unsettling interest. His unique capability to transition between races served as a crucial element that could unveil new dimensions of power for Aizen, potentially leading him toward transcendence. Aizen would not hastily dispatch a mere hollow essence for him. The second reason, however, presented a somber credibility. The dynamics of power have evolved due to Naruto's actions. The ranks of the Espada have significantly diminished in comparison to the original lineup. Conversely, the Gote 13 continued to strengthen with the addition of vice captain and captain class candidates such as Naruto, Renji, Rukia, Momo, and Toshiro. Aizen's actions may have been aimed at eliminating these emerging threats. I can accept that. The departure of Baragon and Stark, the top two Espada, is significant. Throughout the week that Naruto resided in the living world, he brought Coyote Stark and Lilinet Gingerbic from Hueco Mundo, integrating them as permanent members of Kazuki's shop, thereby aligning their fate with that of Grimjow's group. There was no need for him to issue threats towards Stark. Stark displayed a notable level of ease regarding his decision to accompany him. Next, we have the Hollow Essence infection. He intentionally utilized it. If Momo, Toshiro, and he underwent hollowification in the living world, responsibility would rest with the Shinigami previously held accountable for the Visored incident. The exiled Shinigami who escaped the Soul Society to evade the judgment of Central 46. Kazuki Urahara. Removing 3 potential captains, vice captains, and attributing the responsibility to his competitor in a single action. He is even more formidable than we had anticipated. How thrilling, partner. That cunning individual has his sights set on Kazuki's Hogyoku. Does that imply he has a strategy in place regarding my abilities? Kukakuku. He may make all the preparations he deems necessary for my challenges. Our flames will eliminate him. Naruto expressed his disapproval of Nami's enthusiasm for confronting Aizen. Despite Aizen's attempt on his life, he maintained his position. He would only confront Aizen once he was entirely assured of his ability to eliminate him. Unohana's training is expected to address the existing gap. Allow Mamahana to guide you towards your fitness goals, enabling you to assist her in achieving hers as well. This arrangement benefits both parties involved. Did you just replicate the UMU Empress Nero? No, I hold the position of the goddess. Momo, accompanying him, took hold of his hand. Naruto-kun, individuals often overlook our presence. It feels as though we exist in an alternate realm, where we can engage in any activity without facing judgment. Her sparkling eyes and subtle smile exuded an inviting charm. Regrettably for her, he was not inclined to engage in any activities related to intimacy. Momo, is this your initial experience in the living world? I believe so, she remarked, gazing at the star-filled sky. I passed away when I was 4 or 5 years old. Shiro-chan experienced the same fate. We were fortunate that Oba-san adopted us and cared for us as if we were her own children. Having supportive parents is certainly beneficial. Momo nodded and then enthusiastically guided him to the shopping district of Karakura town. As a frequent patron of this location, he provided her with guidance on the directions. After walking through the streets for a few minutes, she paused at a flower shop. Interestingly, he detected 2 recognizable ryotsu within the store. Clarity emerged when he examined the shop's name. Hiwa na Myor no Hanaya. The name of the shop translates directly to Peaceful Pride's Flower Shop. Naruto-kun, these flowers have a pleasant fragrance. Would it be inappropriate if I took a few? No. Momo guided him into the flower shop. The interior was filled with a vibrant array of colors and fragrances. To the right, rows of aromatic flowers in full bloom displayed their vibrant petals, creating a striking contrast with the black dress of Sung Sun, who appeared deeply engaged in caring for the blossoms. To the left, a counter where Mila Rose was peacefully asleep. It surprisingly fits Sung Sun to establish a flower shop. What is the purpose of Francesca's presence here? Likely coerced into taking this action. Sung-sun exhibits disruptive behavior. Meanwhile, Momo was taken aback. The flower shop they entered featured two of the most elegant ladies she had ever encountered. The warmth emanating from Naruto's hand dispelled any feelings of inadequacy. His grasp of her hands served as undeniable evidence of her allure and the significance she held in his life. With her eyes closed, she took a deep breath, absorbing the scent emanating from numerous flowers. Which option should I select? Mila Rose adjusted her fedora, her eyes widening at the sight of Momo and Naruto's skull. Era, Rose. Please refrain from startling the customers. Sung-sun glanced over her shoulder and set down the watering can. Dear, how may we assist two emerging Shinigami? Yes, how may I assist you? It was only upon Sung-sun's intentional reminder that Mila Rose became aware of Naruto's present identity. Momo promptly adopted a watchful stance. How do you both have knowledge about Shinigami? In her perspective, even individuals attuned to spiritual energy ought not to recognize Shinigami. Ultimately, each Shinigami possessed devices designed to alter human memories in the event of exposure. Sung-sun discreetly covered her mouth with her sleeve and let out a soft giggle. We typically maintain discretion regarding our secrets, but I sense a level of trust with both of you. This esteemed lady and I are, in fact, descendants of Quincy. She sensed the warmth radiating from Momo as she grasped Naruto's hand. Consequently, she disclosed her fabricated identities to alleviate Momo's concerns. Certainly, we should place our trust in someone who presents a questionable demeanor, Mila Rose responded. Cyan, your behavior is quite amusing. Sung-sun cast a disapproving look at Mila Rose, who was excessively theatrical in her performance. Rose, as the owner, I establish the rules. It is essential to adhere to them, or I will have to ask you to leave. Mila Rose struck her fists against the counter with force. Please refrain from making threats. Please slow down, Naruto said, extending his hand to gently pat her head. Anger does not complement your beautiful demeanor. Mila Rose leaned into his hand, appreciating his gentle touch in silence, if that is your perspective. Momo was left impressed by how seamlessly Naruto managed to handle the irate employee. The individual she selected exhibited an excessive ease in interactions with the opposite gender. Sung-sun chuckled softly. Rose excels at building relationships with customers. Her genuine enthusiasm consistently prompts patrons to leave her a tip. Momo acknowledged the point with a nod of agreement. She approached Sung-sun and quietly inquired, Florist-san, could you assist me in selecting some romantic flowers? Will you be making a proposal? Momo confidently nodded her head, displaying no hesitation in expressing her affection. I would like to express my feelings. You seem quite knowledgeable in this area. Do you have any guidance for me? Sung-sun found himself amused. Momo approached her to seek guidance on how to connect with her husband. As a supportive partner, she chose to take on the role of wingman. Allow me to outline the steps for you. Momo paid close attention to every piece of advice, demonstrating a level of focus that surpassed her Kido training. Certain matters left her perplexed and astonished, yet she refrained from questioning Sung-sun's expertise. Following Sung-sun's enlightening moment and the receipt of her bouquet of camellia flowers, Momo gracefully approached Naruto's side. He continued to enjoy engaging in flirtatious exchanges with Mila Rose. Naruto, we are ready to depart now. Naruto observed the bouquet in her hand and responded with a warm smile. Certainly. Mila Rose gestured towards him, her eyes reflecting a subtle yearning. Please repeat that, Naruto and Momo. Sung-sun also gestured with her oversized sleeve. We look forward to your prompt return. We will, Momo responded with enthusiasm. Goodbye, florist and receptionist. Upon exiting the flower shop, Momo's demeanor underwent a noticeable change. She accompanied him, her attention shifting between him and the bouquet. Despite having journeyed halfway back, Momo continued to be silent, lacking the courage to speak. She appeared reluctant to provoke him and jeopardize the relationship she had established with him. Momo, he addressed in a composed manner. Do you have any thoughts to share? Naruto, I must speak with you. It is important to understand that I prefer confident individuals. Momo halted abruptly, her eyes widening in astonishment. Upon understanding his preference, she set aside all modesty and gracefully knelt down. She presented the bouquet in her hands to him. Naruto-kun, I have deep feelings for you, My life feels incomplete without you. I kindly ask you to consider me as one of your partners." Momo was fully aware of his feelings for Rangaku. Instead of competing with another individual and jeopardizing her opportunity, she directly expressed her desire to be one of his partners. He accepted the bouquet with a smile. What would be the implications of my declining? Her complexion turned ashen, yet the sight of his playful smile provided her with a sense of reassurance. This is an examination. She clasped her hands before her chest and maintained direct eye contact with him. "I will make another attempt. If I am met with rejection once more, I will proceed to try a third time. It is often said that the third time brings success. What if that proves insufficient? It will be," Momo asserted, projecting a sense of confidence to strengthen her voice. "My genuine feelings and dedication will find their way to you eventually. On that day, as a Shinigami, I will persistently strive to earn your affection." He offered his hand. "Understood. Very well, I accept." A sudden spatial distortion disrupted their moment as a Garganta materialized above him. A gentleman with dark hair and luminous green eyes emerged. He presented as a pale-skinned Arankar, characterized by the fragments of his hollow mask adorning half of his head, complemented by two distinct black lines extending from the center of his eyes. Yellow hair, blue eyes. Ulquiorra Cypher's piercing gaze surveyed them with an air of detachment. "Is it fortunate for me to encounter you right now, or unfortunate for you to be present at this precise moment?" At an earlier time, as twilight enveloped Karakura town, Rangaku positioned herself atop the towering power station, her eyes surveying the urban landscape. The city, illuminated by the glow of night lights, showcased a scene of ordinary beauty, standing in sharp contrast to the antiquity of Seireti. The scenery was not the only aspect that captivated her. The fruity sake she enjoyed enhanced the experience with an additional layer of sweetness. It is evident that her purpose for being here extends beyond merely enjoying a beverage. She would always uphold her responsibilities, understanding that any lapse could lead to harm or more serious consequences for others. In her capacity as the leading Shinigami for this operation, she had thoughtfully chosen this vantage point to guarantee a comprehensive view of the surroundings. Her companion, Vice Captain Naneo Eyes, was also present by her side. As Rangaku relaxed comfortably, Naneo maintained a poised stance, her keen gaze surveying the surroundings with diligence. "Relax a little, Naneo. Come share a drink with me. This melon-flavored sake is quite mild and won't lead to overindulgence. It's gentle on the system." Naneo observed the bottle that Rangaku held with a measured glance. "I do not consume alcohol during my working hours." Rangaku anticipated her firm refusal well in advance. "There is no necessity for excessive vigilance. The sixth years are also monitoring the situation. Should any hollow appear, I will handle it decisively." Rangaku displayed a sense of assurance, even with the seal that reduced their strength to 20% of her maximum capacity. Naneo gradually shifted her gaze towards Rangaku. "I pursue excellence not for the approval of others, but for my own personal growth." Profound. Quite profound. "I shall raise a toast to that." Rangaku lifted her cup in acknowledgement before consuming the sake in one fluid motion. The ideal combination of sweetness and fruitiness. Naneo responded with a subtle shake of the head. She recalled vividly the numerous hollow encounters in Karakura town. This particular location has observed the rise of the most powerful Vasto Lord ever recorded by the 12th Squad. The 6th-year students, lacking experience, would find it exceedingly difficult to detect such a formidable Ryotsu. "Excuse me, may I inquire about the identity of that individual?" Rangaku gestured towards the horizon, her gaze sharpening with interest. "Ah, it appears to be Naruto's cat. She will serve as a more suitable drinking companion than Naneo." Rangaku poured another cup and gracefully descended, her smile widening as she approached Toshiro and Renji. "It is likely that he departed with Momo." Renji elevated his eyebrow. "You granted her permission. What is preventing them from going? Oh, how adorable, a kitten." She disregarded Renji and approached the cat with welcoming open arms and a warm smile. "Please approach me. I will demonstrate superior ownership compared to Naruto." Yoruichi cast a sharp glance at her before gracefully perching on Toshiro's head. "Meow. Kitty?" Toshiro smiled with a sense of self-satisfaction. "Kindly refrain from bothering Yoruichi. She has a preference against women with large breasts." Rangaku's brow furrowed slightly. What is the reason behind your actions, Yoruichi? Yoruichi firmly shook her head, rejecting any association with Toshiro's clear disdain for larger breasts. Feeling an intense gaze, she glanced up and met Naneo's surprised expression. Naneo acknowledged the name Yoruichi. Nevertheless, Yoruichi remained completely untroubled. Assigning a human name to a pet was a common practice both within and beyond the Soul Society. Naneo found it challenging to draw any connections between a cat and Shinigami. There is no information available. Hello, Toshiro. You are among the rare individuals who dislike large breasts. I find myself pondering the reasons behind that action. Rangaku narrowed her eyes, a confident smirk gracing her lips. Did a woman with a prominent figure cause you distress in the past? Did she express something along the lines of, I cannot love a man who is shorter than I am? Renji faced Toshiro and erupted in laughter. I can't believe you took the life of my little companion. Toshiro made a clicking sound with his tongue. Please leave, Vice Captain. Rangaku elegantly brushed back her hair and took a measured sip of her sake. Very well, young one. I do not require your affirmation of my appeal. As she pivoted, her cup slipped from her hold, breaking upon impact with the ground. The group's focus concurrently directed upwards, captivated by a foreboding rift in the moonlit sky. The rift emerged as though the fundamental structure of dimensions was meticulously unraveled, revealing 4 distinct figures. A tall, muscular Arankar with a deep complexion. The remnants of his hollow mask consisted of a series of bony spikes that lined the crest of his bald head, resembling a mohawk hairstyle. His golden eyes exhibited a remarkable tranquility compared to the others in the group. Shinigami of no value. Beside him stood a blonde girl, her posture not reflecting the assurance of those around her. Lolly. Her statement was abruptly interrupted by a sudden slap from another woman, who had black hair styled into twin tails, with bangs elegantly cascading over one side of her face. May I inquire who authorized you to speak? The slim man positioned furthest to the left chuckled softly. The white helmet encasing his unkempt black hair bore a striking resemblance to the skull of a saber-toothed cat. It is consistently enjoyable to spend time with both of you. Despite their seemingly casual banter, no one from Shinigami would dare to underestimate the 4. How could they, given that the Ryotsu of the 4 hollows matched or even exceeded Rangaku's peak? Lolly positioned her hands on her hips and let out a confident laugh. For an extended period, we, hollows, have perished at the hands of Shinigami. Today, I, Lolly Avenya, will advocate for Hueco Mundo. She directed her finger towards them, wearing a smirk that conveyed superiority. Listen to me, Shinigami. This statement serves as a formal declaration of conflict against your ethnicity. A conflict aimed at the complete destruction of the Soul Society. In the concealed dimension, Jin's eyelids opened just a fraction, showcasing the captivating blue of his eyes. The monitors in front of him displayed the astonished faces of Renji, Toshiro, Naneo, and Rangaku from multiple perspectives. Despite his awareness that the declaration of war was merely a facade, a subtle unease persisted within him. Aizen had devised a strategy to allow one Shinigami to deliver the information to the Soul Society. The identity of the Chosen One has remained enigmatic until this moment. It may be Renji, Toshiro, Naneo, any member of the student group, or Rangaku. The probability of Aizen selecting Rangaku from the 50 Shinigami present at the scene was 2%. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him, leaving him feeling powerless to take any action. Is today the day? No. Have confidence in your instincts. Aizen will not harm her, his Zanpakuto spirit assured him in a composed tone. His ego matches our desire for retribution. He would not end her life without first putting you both through intense suffering. Jin closed his eyes tightly and displayed his signature smile. The current environment lacks stimulation. When is the scheduled fight? Aizen let out a soft chuckle. Please exercise some patience, Jin. We are not present to witness the decline of our colleagues. Patience was not a quality Jin was deficient in, yet he nodded in agreement. Certainly, Captain Aizen. I developed a strong desire to evaluate the combat potential of the Espadas in comparison to the vice captains. They do not stand out in any remarkable way. Aizen dismissed the notion with a shake of his head. It did not meet my expectations. They serve as adequate placeholders until we identify more suitable replacements. Jin took a seat. one leg elegantly crossed over the other. Unfortunately, we have not yet identified the individual wearing the wolf mask and his associates. It is merely a question of time, Aizen stated quietly. It is merely a question of time. At the same time, Naruto's cherished black cat, Yoruichi, watched the four entities radiating the dual-natured Ryotsu characteristic of both Shinigami and Hollow. She had anticipated challenges from Hollows, but an ambush by high-level Arankars, particularly those associated with Aizen, exceeded all expectations. The evidence was evident in the elaborate high-level barrier spell enveloping the power plant area. A Keto spell so meticulously synchronized with the Garganta's opening that it nearly went unnoticed. Attention was directed towards the Garganta, overshadowing the actual threat at hand. As long as the barrier remained intact, no member of the Gote 13 would be able to detect these Arankars. Furthermore, Naruto, holding the position of senior captain, would also be unable to detect them. Her requirement for his presence was crucial, as the vice captains, bound by their seals, would not stand a chance against the Espada. Her concern deepened as she observed Nanao, who seemed noticeably unsettled, her body quaking as if engulfed by the overwhelming intensity of the Ryotsu. An unexpected response for a vice captain who would typically possess some resilience to such force. Captain Kyoraku demonstrates a strong sense of guardianship towards her. Rangaku demonstrated commendable reliability in protecting Toshiro and Renji from the Arankars. Her face exhibited no signs of playfulness, presenting only a serious expression that mirrored the grave situation. She may be able to secure additional time. I will proceed to dismantle the barrier promptly. She gently patted Toshiro's head. Shiro, please activate your Shikai and provide support to the vice captains from a distance. Toshiro managed a slight nod as Yoruichi swiftly leapt off him and moved towards Nanao. She struck the startled vice captain's face with her paw. Her gentle slap brought the vice captain back to the present moment. Nanao rubbed her face in disbelief, astonished that a cat had just slapped her like a person and then made its escape. Yoruichi. She dismissed the distracting thoughts and directed her attention to Lolly. It appears you are the leader of the group. Lolly crossed her arms with a sense of confidence. Will a bottom feeder issue a formal declaration of war? Rangaku's laughter interrupted their discussion. Impressive. Kindly proceed. Even 1,000 of you will not be able to compete with the Soul Society. Lolly responded with a hearty laugh of her own. You will not have the opportunity to witness the destruction of the Soul Society. As a result, it is inevitable that each of you will meet your end in this place. Rangaku drew her katana from its crimson sheath. It was either her affection for felines or her own cat-like traits that bestowed upon her Zanpakuto a distinctive design reminiscent of a cat. The handguard of her katana was crafted in the form of a cat's head, featuring pointed ears at the upper section and a sleek tapering point at the lower end. Lolly, please allow the students to exit. I am prepared to face all four of you independently. Lolly regarded him with disdain. Do you accept all challenges? It is not appropriate to objectify oneself in such a manner. Rangaku's eyes gleamed with intensity. It is evident who is displaying unprofessional behavior. Please refrain from imposing your inappropriate behavior on others. Your assent may have been aided by sycophancy and inappropriate conduct, but my position as vice captain is a testament to my skills and capabilities. Instead of engaging in combat, she maintained the intense dialogue to buy time for reinforcements. In contrast to Yoruichi, she was unable to detect the advanced barrier hindering the transmission of Ryotsu and anticipated the timely arrival of reinforcements. Rangaku-sensei, you possess her, Toshiro remarked, nonchalantly delivering a kick to Renji's rear. Hello, foolish individual. Renji gently massaged his lower back, a trace of moisture glistening in his eyes. Could you please clarify the reason for that? Toshiro narrowed his eyes with a sense of self-satisfaction. You appeared quite apprehensive, reminiscent of a young girl. The motivation you provided was effective. Renji seized Toshiro's collar and directed his attention towards Lolly. Rukia will certainly have a field day if I allow a girl named Lolly to intimidate me. It is quite unusual to choose the name Lolly for a child. Toshiro dismissed Renji's hand with a swift motion and offered a smile. I understand. Renji flexed his fingers and retrieved his Zanpakuto from its sheath on his back. I concur with your perspective on this matter. Lolly was justifiably irritated by their banter. She appeared quite dangerous. I will take decisive action against you. Not if I take action before you do. Renji laughed lightly and gracefully jumped over Rangaku. He swiftly advanced towards Lolly, generating platforms of reishi beneath his feet. I am on my way. Please return immediately. Toshiro raised his voice, yet his caution went unheeded. Gripping his blade, he quietly recited the incantation to activate his Shikai. Sit upon. I won't make it in time. Rangaku, please assist him. Finding the Shikai chant excessively lengthy, he instructed Rangaku to prevent Renji from making a reckless decision that could lead to his demise. Lolly's lips formed a subtle smirk. She disappeared, accompanied by the powerful sound of Sonido, and reappeared before Renji in an instant. Surprised by her rapid technique, Renji was unable to respond to the curved dagger descending toward his face. As the blade made contact with his forehead, Rangaku swiftly flash-stepped to his side and expertly parried the dagger with her katana. That was overly reckless. Rangaku seized Renji by the collar and pulled him back to safety. Her gaze fixed on Lolly, a resolute determination evident within. I will ensure the safety of these students at all times. Dimwit, this is a war. We do not accept hostages or spare enemy troops. Lolly nodded to Ggio Vega, the Arankar wearing a saber-tooth helmet. Kill the rest of the students. Ggio shrugged. I don't want to contaminate my claws with weakling's blood. Mainoli, why don't you please your friend? Mainoli, hesitantly, pulled her katana. Fine, if I must. Mainoli sprinted towards her goal, only to hit with a transparent yellow wall, a high-level barrier spell. Her katana, Zanpakuto, slipped from her grip and fell to the ground. As she rubbed her head, her back collided with another enormous wall. She became confused and panicked as she realized she was trapped in a diminishing cage of energy. Vessel of the Divine, Fury of the Lord. Menali's attention followed the speaker to Nanao, who extended her hand in a claw-like motion. The vice captain was in charge of the barrier, unconcerned about the two Espada assaulting her in her current condition. I won't let you kill them, Nanao hissed through bitter teeth as she firmly closed her claw hand. Using light, smash the prisoner. Shimen sei no shi. The barrier replied to Nanao's instruction by contracting with a force designed to crush Mainoli into nothingness. Mainoli hurriedly grabbed for her Zanpakuto to trigger her Resurrection, but it was fruitless since her blade was beyond of reach. In a frenzy, she banged her hands against the barrier, but it was as if she were contacting steel. Mainoli glanced to Ggio Vega, eyes filled with desperation. Ggio, help me, she begged her comrades, hoping they'd assist her get out of the situation. Ggio Vega, the Arankar wearing the saber-tooth helmet, gazed on with chilly indifference. Have no fear. I'll happily accept the number 7 from you. Menali's heart fell. She had always considered Ggio an ally, even a friend, yet he was willing to let her die for her title. We're on the same side. Why aren't you helping me? Miss Mainoli, we do not need inept hollows in our ranks. Zamari, do you agree with me? Zamari cast a short look down at Mainoli before shutting his eyes. His conclusion was expressed more clearly by quiet than by words. Mainoli was horrified beyond words. Despite her best efforts to satisfy them and help her colleagues, they abandoned her at the drop of a hat. Finally, Mainoli came to Lolly for aid. Her bully coworker occurred to peek at her, her face twisted with contempt. She shuddered and closed her eyes out of terror. Please save me. You are utter trash of an Arankar, Lolly hissed. Kill yourself. Kill yourself right now, Arg. A sudden, piercing ache distracted Lolly's attention. Her eyes widened in surprise as she glanced down and saw a blade sticking from her chest. Damn you, Vice Captain. Rangaku had quickly taken advantage of Lolly's confusion, stabbing her. Rangaku slammed her foot hard into Lolly's shoulder, ripping her bleeding katana away in one seamless stroke. She missed Lolly's shaking fingers reaching for her dagger because she was so certain in her last stroke. Rangaku's eyes traveled across the remaining 3 Arankars. The strongest of them, a dark-skinned guy like a monk, exhibited no reaction to Lolly's last gasp. Ggio, with a grin on his lips, seemed almost amused by the turn of events. Mainoli, on the other hand, was being steadily crushed by Nanao's insanely powerful barrier spell. Rangaku may not have realized Nanao was under a seal if she hadn't gone through the Senkaimon with her. Nanao, don't get soft now. The Arankars were her enemies the instant they declared war. Shown kindness to her enemies was equivalent to stabbing her friends in the back. But Nanao hesitated. Maybe she won't, Vice Captain, Nanao, Rangaku said decisively. I won't say it again. Poison, a familiar voice murmured from her side, drawing her attention. Escalopendra, centipede. A storm of pink Ryotsu blew about Lolly, eventually enveloping her body. Her shape started to shift radically, with a mask stretching over her face and white armor encasing her torso. Her arms became into elongated, headless centipedes. Most significantly, her Ryotsu had improved to the point where she could compete with Nanao in raw Ryotsu. Rangaku blinked her eyes. Did you just use Shikai? Lolly sprang to her feet and laughed maniacally. This is Resurrection, dickhead. It completely cures our wounds. Now I will poison you. I will poison everyone in this city. Toshiro frowned. He hadn't paid attention to Lolly while watching Zamari and Gio's moves, otherwise he wouldn't have allowed her to recuperate. He had to ensure that the vice captains fought one opponent at a time. The Arankar's lack of togetherness made his task a lot simpler. Rangaku-sensei, you aren't qualified to lecture Nanao-sensei. My bad. Rangaku took a serious attitude and held her katana with both hands. Growl, Heineka, Ashcat. Huh. But to her surprise, nothing occurred. Her Zanpakuto was unresponsive to her incantation. She poured Ryotsu into her Zanpakuto and grimaced. Heineka, this is not the time to fool around. Heineka? Heineka? Her inner world responded to her shouts with silence. Heineka was quirky, yet she never played about during a serious combat. She clenched her teeth as a depressing truth struck her. Without her Shikai, she was at a considerable disadvantage. I can't use it. Rangaku was so caught up in uncertainty and dread that she didn't see Lolly's huge arms closing in on her. The headless centipedes crashed into her on all sides, coiling around her. Rangaku winced and banged her elbows into Lolly's arms, feeling as if she was striking steel rather than bone. She hadn't learned about Arankar's Hiero resistance. Die, you wench. Melt away in my poison, Lolly screamed, her face contorted with cruel enjoyment. The centipede's tiny, razor-sharp claws started to produce a violet poison. A plaintive voice interrupted Lolly's bliss. Lolly, Mainoli barely managed a cry, as the barrier forced her into a curling posture. Please, Lolly's face contorted with disgust. With a furious swing, she smashed the barrier with her poison-coated limb. The blow did not damage the barrier, but her purple poison corroded it in only seconds. Mainoli looked in surprise at Lolly's benevolence. Gee thanks. Lolly swung her arm again. This time, the enormous limb struck with Manali's face, sending her tumbling into a structure. Gross. Sit upon the frozen heavens, Hirenmaru. Toshiro reluctantly released his Shikai and aimed his katana toward Lolly. His Zanpakuto exuded great Reiatsu as 3 chains of ice spiraled out of the blade's base, condensing into a thick chain. The ice chain flowed through the air, gathering moisture from the surroundings until transforming into a gigantic dragon with fiery red eyes. The ice dragon bellowed at the sky before descending down to Lolly. Fuck. Lolly quickly freed Rangaku and smacked the ice dragon. Of course, with her stronger Ryotsu, she effortlessly broke the ice dragon, but not without costs. Her poison started to crystallize, as ice crept up her limbs. The ice prompted her to use Ryotsu to break the ice crystals. A little brat has Shikai. I'm not a brat, he snarled. Rangaku-sensei, let's fight her together. Rangaku's Shiakusho was half melted, and the poison had singed her flesh. It was absolute torture. She didn't let her injuries slow her down. She joined the Gote 13 with the aim of reuniting with her childhood buddy, but she eventually became a responsible Shinigami. She didn't mind sacrificing her life for service. Okay, let's end this pathetic worm. Nanao, meantime, raised an arm to Lolly and whispered a mantra under her breath. It's getting boring for you, isn't it? Gigio inquired, yawning. I'll join too. I apologize for killing you, Miss Vice Captain. Nanao felt a cold shudder go down her spine. Gigio was already behind her, his left leg lifted over her head. Nanao lifted her hand in terror, whispering a mantra beneath her breath. Seiki. Gigio grinned and lowered his leg, unconcerned by the little sphere of electricity hovering above Naneo's back of hand. As soon as his leg contacted the orb, the spell's counterforce threw him back against a wall. Ha ha ha. Impressive. You are very impressive. I don't feel happy with your praise, Naneo muttered, feeling perspiration on her cheeks. What do Arankars want from attacking students? You will know shortly. In the meanwhile, enjoy your demise at the hands of Ggio Vega, the number 8 Espada. Ggio has once again gone. Naneo moved quickly and used Shunpo to avoid him while chanting a Kido spell. She whirled to face her opponent and threw her hand forward. Hado number 31. Shakaho. A scorching sphere of red energy burst from her hand and flew towards Ggio. Naneo could use even a Hado spell from the 1930s to devastating effect. Ggio could have easily avoided the flaming shot, but he just deflected it with his bare hands. The strong flames barely burned the back of his hand. Anything else you want to try, Vice Captain? Naneo's heart pumped. The seal hampered her ability to cast devastating Hado spells, making Shakaho the most effective alternative. There was nothing more she could do to injure her opponent. She had only ever fought hollows that were significantly weaker than her. Fighting such a strong opponent made her feel overwhelmed. You aren't entertaining me anymore, Miss Vice Captain. Well, I should end this now. He charged toward Naneo with his whole speed. Naneo couldn't notice his movement as he approached her. He grabbed her neck and pushed her against the wall. He resumed his assault, repeatedly tossing, kicking, and punching her into the air. She crossed her arms in protection, but it did nothing to stop him. She was no match for Ijuka's Arankar at top form, much alone with a seal reducing her strength. At the same time, Rangaku and Toshiro were stuck in a fight with Lolly. Her huge centipede limbs swung in broad, poisonous arcs, creating a dangerous wall of poison. They couldn't get close to her, and she couldn't drive them away. Renji stood still on the sidelines, shocked by what he saw. He had been unable to move for a short time after his brush with death, and his mind was racing to find a means to stop Gio's continuous onslaught on Naneo. He couldn't come up with a method. On the opposite side of town, Naruto looked at Ulquiorra, whose Ryotsu was quite similar to his own hollow Ryotsu in a scary way. Go back to the flower shop, Momo. Tell them to deploy the disguised backup troops to the field trip location right away. He wouldn't be able to aid Rangaku and the others in time. His Shikai wasn't strong enough to kill Ulquiorra, and showing Nami's flames may have revealed his hollow side. He wasn't confident that Aizen wouldn't be able to see that Nami was a hollow via her flames. Momo looked at him for a while before nodding her head, totally keeping her promise to always do what he said. Don't get hurt, Naruto-kun. He couldn't help but grin. Who do you think you are talking to? Momo laughed and ran straight to Sung Sun's flower store, without knowing why she was doing it. Ulquiorra watched Momo from behind but didn't do anything. Naruto was his goal, not Momo. I really hope you fight as hard as you are sure you can. Yes, I will, my Arankar friend. Naruto laughed and pulled out his Zanpakuto. Weave, Shinku no Aurora. Aizen sat in a dark room in front of a bank of screens, each showing a different part of the turmoil that was happening. Jin stated, he wasn't lying about taking Zanpakuto spirits. That is a scary Zanpakuto. But Aizen wasn't seeing at the high-stakes fight between Naruto and Ulquiorra. He was looking at a more subtle but just as interesting fight. A black cat on one of the displays acted like a person and messed with the barrier surrounding the power plant zone. It made Aizen think of a funny thing he had read about the Shiwan clan's heritage that seemed stupid at the time. Descendants of Shiwan may turn into animals. In the past, it has only occurred twice. 1. Jin pointed at the screen's black cat. Yoruichi Shiwan. That's interesting. Yoruichi took down the barrier that Tosen had placed up after a little while. Aizen crossed his legs and smiled. The last show will begin. Arthur's note. Kubo said it was true in a Q&A. I want to know why Yoruichi can turn into a black cat. Some people think that it is some kind of bond that turns her from a person to a black cat, although it is quite different from Hado and Bakudo. Is it a power that isn't Kido? Or is it because of Kazuki's tech? It's because of the Shihuan lineage. The Shihuan clan may sometimes breed individuals who can turn into animals. Izumi woke up with a start, her heart racing as she looked up at the ceiling. Otouto's spiritual energy. Even while the Quincy weren't renowned for having strong spiritual senses like the Shinigami, Izumi had a profound, almost instinctive understanding of Naruto's Ryotsu. She would never mistake his Ryotsu for someone else's. He is fighting something. A Shinigami or a Hollow. She thought about it, her brow furrowing. In the end, the opponent didn't matter much. She may have lost the chance to bring back the Quincy race, but she wouldn't think twice about using her Quincy bow to defend him. She threw away her cover and put on a cardigan over her modest nightgown. Wait a second, Uto-kun. I'm on my way. Izumi stopped at the entrance as she saw Lisa, the maid, quickly putting on her shoes. Lisa had also rushed out of her room in a casual blouse and skirt, much like her. Lisa glanced around as she felt Izumi's presence, and there was a tinge of surprise in her eyes. She had hoped, maybe too much, that the stronger Ryotsu signatures in Karakura town wouldn't wake Izumi up. Seeing Naruto in his Shinigami suit would ruin all he worked so hard for. Izumi-sama, you can't go to him. No. Izumi's forehead wrinkled in perplexity. Why not? Why? Lisa hesitated for a second and looked down at her shoes. He is up against a tough opponent. You will make things worse for him as they are now. Izumi's frown became deeper. I've been fighting hollows for years. Just because I've had a few rough weeks doesn't mean you should underestimate me. I don't think less of you. Lisa straightened up her shoelaces and stood up again before clicking her shoes together. You don't think highly enough of your boyfriend. In my opinion, he is the strongest Quincy. Just being close to his Ryotsu will kill us. If you die, you won't be able to demonstrate your love. She came up with justifications that made sense to her, but, I want to see him and embrace him. I want to feel his warmth. When Lisa saw Izumi's desperate side, her eyes softened. I'll bring him back as soon as he beats his enemy. You can go to sleep without anxiety. Okay, thanks, Lisa. Thank you for caring about me. Lisa nodded and ran out the door. She stopped walking when she noticed Shinji resting against the wall with his arms folded and eyes closed. Are you going to pretend to be a drug dealer today? Shinji laughed in a sarcastic way. Lisa, they've already thrown us out of their world. It doesn't matter what happens to them. Lisa rolled her eyes. She barely got Izumi to remain home, and now Shinji wants to get her to stay home too. I just want to know which Arrancar is causing trouble in my town. She didn't say what she really thought, but she thought she could sense a familiar presence among the Shinigami's Ryotsu. She had to make sure she wasn't seeing things because Aizen's Zanpakuto was there or because the little girl she read tales to was in town. Shinji, on the other hand, stood in her way with a serious look on his face. They work for Aizen. Do you understand what it means? Oh, so Naruto was right. Exactly. I won't let you put your life in danger for no good reason. I'm not going to die before I meet my charming prince and turn him into a demon. Lisa went by and glanced back, grinning cheekily. Thanks for the heads up, though. Fool, Shinji moaned, clutching the back of his skull. He picked up the wrapped katana that was leaning against the wall and hurled it at Lisa. Then take this. Lisa seized the sword without looking back and ripped off the layers that were concealing it. Thanks, Shinji. Naruto's mansion is also there. Apache's blood began to flow faster since Naruto's Ryotsu had gone up. She was sitting at the table with Haribel and Chiruchi, who didn't appear to be bothered by the noise. Chiruchi was carefully bottle-feeding milk to kittens, her maternal instincts on full show, while Haribel regarded her with a sweet, almost forlorn grin, reflecting her own intrinsic caring nature. Tear, he is fighting an Arrancar. Can you please stop ignoring it? Everyone knew about Naruto's trip, but the sudden arrival of so many Arrancar was a surprise. Apache would have happily taken his place in fight if he weren't dressed as a Shinigami, which made it harder for them to help. Haribel looked at Apache, her grin remaining on her face but her eyes serious. Doesn't that Ryotsu make you think of Naruto's when he first became an Arrancar? Now that you mention it, it does seem a simpler. Is he in a quarrel with his brother? Haribel shook her head. It can't be his brother. You both remain here. I'll head over and check if he needs assistance. Apache complained, I want to go too, but he said I can't be involved. Chiruchi smiled as she held the kittens in a nice towel. Lady Apache, there is a good reason why he is cautious. I know, damn it. I may do something crazy to show him up. You too, Tear. Don't do anything that could mess things recover. Haribel nodded in agreement with Apache's statements and got up from her seat. She put on a black sweatshirt over her shirt, zipped it up over her chest, and pulled the hood over her head. The cover of night outside was the best time for her to hide her unique characteristics as she got ready to go into the unknown darkness. The Soul Society. The busy, cutting-edge 12th Squad headquarters, the Shinigami Research and Development Institute, was suddenly full of frenzied activity. The operators ran about like they were going to lose their minds. Their devices had just picked up on a number of high-level Arankars gathering in the same place as a group of their pupils, which was why they were upset. Their exact tools failed at some point and missed Garganta's spatial aberrations. In a section where little errors may signal catastrophe, such an omission could have grave, even life-altering repercussions. Akon, on the other hand, didn't appear to care at all about what might happen. Send a message to the Captain Commander. He has to know this right now. He knew what was at stake. Having strong Arankars near to their pupils was a huge danger that needed to be dealt with right away by the Soul Society's top officials. The Gote 13 had to quickly get more troops to help. Ulquiorra was interested to see Naruto let go of his Shikai. Even while the procedure was amazing, the outcomes were not what he had hoped for. He pointed at Naruto with a finger, and his eyes showed no interest. Sero. A flashing green light at the tip of his finger showed that his destructive force was about to be released. In a flash, a huge beam burst out. Naruto just put his Enmaiku together and made a shield. The fire shield took in the deadly Sero that was about to kill him, and the remainder lit up the night sky with its green brilliance. Ulquiorra's face didn't alter, but his eyes showed a trace of interest. A shield is an unusual choice for someone as proud as you. Is that true? What do you think I should show you? He took the Enmyakus in his hands and put them together, making a sword with a grip that was much too big. Shall we fight with swords? Ulquiorra wrapped his hand around the green hilt of his Zanpakuto and pulled it out in one smooth move. The weaker blade is likely to chip and break. You might be surprised. With a sudden burst of speed, they shot up into the sky over Karakura town, their blades meeting with such force that it sent shockwaves through the night air. The sound of their swords clashing created a metallic ring, changing the vibe with every strong hit. Naruto charged at Ulquiorra, trying to find a chance to hit him right where it would hurt the most. But Ulquiorra stayed cool even when faced with aggression. He stayed as calm as the moon watching their fight, his katana gliding through the darkness like a soft whisper. The Zanpakuto moved quickly and accurately, blocking Naruto's aggressive attacks. Even without tapping into his Resurrection, Ulquiorra was holding his ground in the fight. As they battled, Naruto's swordplay became more intense, slicing through the air with the sheer force of his swings. He restrained his full Reiatsu, but he definitely didn't hold back when it came to his physical strength. He actually got stronger when he faced off against Ulquiorra, since he was the toughest opponent he had ever battled. Haribel didn't really count because she started holding back once he officially became her lover. He wasn't the only one evolving during the fight. Ulquiorra also grew stronger by facing off against an equal opponent, a challenge he just couldn't find in Hueco Mundo as the top Espada. Wow, you're really strong for a student, Ulquiorra said. You've got a pretty good handle on combat, too. I get why he saw you as an obstacle in his plans. You really don't have to worry about that. Ulquiorra skillfully dodged and blocked the barrage of fierce slashes. That is, until he spotted an opening. Naruto, feeling a surge of impatience, lunged forward and aimed his blade right at Ulquiorra's heart. Ulquiorra stood there, watching as the blade slowly approached his chest before it finally pierced through him. He allowed the sword to pierce him. That move surprised Naruto. Ulquiorra seized the perfect opening and drove his katana right through Naruto's throat. Ulquiorra casually pulled his katana back and slid it into its sheath. You really gave it your all. He took hold of the huge hilt of Naruto's sword and pulled it out to start his regeneration. The sword slid out of his chest for a moment before getting stuck again. The sword let out a fierce roar as it tore through Ulquiorra, transforming into a whip sword. The growing blade wrapped around Ulquiorra's waist, almost like it was alive, latching onto him in a strange, gripping embrace. You idiot, Naruto whispered. Looks like you jumped the gun a bit. Ulquiorra seized Naruto by the throat and tossed him aside before reaching for the hilt of the sword. But he was a bit too late. The flames flickering between the sections of the whip kept getting brighter and brighter, and then, they burst into an explosion. The two Enmyakus burst out of the smoke from the explosion and ran over to Naruto's side. He swiftly turned one Enmyaku into a musket and shot himself in the throat, hiding his natural regeneration from anyone who might be watching. Once the smoke cleared, you could see Ulquiorra's condition. His whole shoulder and a large part of his waist had turned to ashes. The bloodied torso healed in just seconds, but he had to spend a lot of Ryotsu to make that happen. My flames would have taken care of it all. Nami was spot on. He just used Aurora's flames for long-range attacks. The bright flames just weren't meant for destruction. He suddenly felt a familiar presence coming at him quickly. Ah, finally. My lovely tear has arrived. Ulquiorra gave his right shoulder a quick brush, a frown crossing his face. We really didn't give you enough credit. Your ability to defend and bounce back, along with your determination to go all out for victory, really makes you a formidable opponent. Could you please be quiet for just a moment? Naruto pointed at Tear, whose shark-like eyes sparkled in the far-off park. She found the ideal spot to hide and watch everything unfold. As that lovely lady part of your team, what are you planning by introducing her to Aizen? Can't you just read my mind? I can't read your mind, but I do make guesses based on how you're feeling. Sometimes, it feels like there's something out there that's interrupting our connection. That's really strange. Ulquiorra turned around and looked down at Tear. Feeling the disrespect from the pale Arrancar who was looking down on her, she shot up to an even higher point and then flipped her hoodie. Arrancar, Shinigami. Let's keep the peace in my town, alright? I recognize you. Ulquiorra squinted his eyes. You're Tear Haribel. Las Noches has been looking for you in Hueco Mundo. Tear crossed her arms, giving off a vibe of confidence. So, am I really that famous in Hueco Mundo now? Ulquiorra looked at her with that same indifferent expression. Sure, every Espada is familiar with you. Why did you go into hiding after taking down Barragan? So, were you just not into the crown, or did you get lucky with that win? Even though Ulquiorra usually comes off as pretty emotionless, he actually has a knack for getting into long conversations, which is kind of surprising given his usual stoic vibe. Tear's eyes burned with anger. You really think you can challenge my pride, you pathetic Arrancar? You're going to regret this. She rushed at Ulquiorra using Sonido and seized his throat. He was caught off guard by her explosive speed and raw strength. She tore open the garganta with her other hand and threw Ulquiorra inside. She shot Naruto a fierce glare. Just hang tight, Shinigami. It's just between him and me. He lifted his hands up. Whoever wins between you two gets the honor of facing me. Tear let out a snarl before sprinting into the void. Now that he was alone, Naruto let out a deep breath. Tear's reaction was surprisingly spot on, almost like she could read his thoughts. She got why he wanted to head out and help Rangaku and the others, so she decided to step in for him in the fight. God bless our Holy Mother. Naruto squinted his eyes. Neneo's Ryotsu seems to be fading. Forget about that voyeur Aizen. I can just imagine him feeling ecstatic watching everything unfold just as he intended. Just a day before, Jin Ichimaru probably would have put everything on Ulquiorra winning against a rookie from the Shino Academy like Naruto. Aizen really went the extra mile to boost Ulquiorra with Hogyoku. Ulquiorra, the last original Hollow and the strongest Vasto Lord, had some pretty unique perks as a major player in the Arrancar project. So, today turned out to be pretty surprising. Naruto Uzumaki was playing around with Ulquiorra, luring the Vasto Lord into a big explosion. If it weren't for his crazy regeneration ability, Ulquiorra would have been a goner right then and there. The Arrancar project's big moment took a surprising turn, and if he hadn't unleashed his Resurrección, he definitely would have been bested by a student. It really sucked that Jin missed the finish. So, Tear Haribel just popped up out of nowhere and changed the game in the battle. He then turned his attention to the Shinigami's part of the situation. Rangaku Matsumoto was having a tough time, her body giving into toxins that left her feeling all sluggish and out of sorts. If it weren't for Tashiro's Shikai holding its ground against Lolly, she would have been long gone. But, the deadlock wouldn't stick around for too long. Tashiro looked pretty worn out, struggling with his Raryoku as he used his newly developed Shikai. Things were getting pretty tough for them. I can count on him to take care of the Espada. Sure, Jin's expression didn't give away any of the urgency he was feeling inside. Naruto-san has so much untapped potential, just like a rough diamond waiting to be polished. It's kind of odd that he chose to join the 4th and 10th squad. This battle maniac would vibe with the 11th squad. Jin felt that there were more complex factors at play affecting Naruto's choices, beyond just his connections with Isshin Shiba and Vice Captain Azane Katetsu, but the little information they had didn't really give a strong basis for these guesses. His Zanpakuto is a support type, and it really fits well with the 4th squad. Aizen's eyes sparkled behind his glasses. You can change it into something more aggressive. That's a clear indication of how incredibly adaptable he is. Jin had a grin on his face, resting his chin on his hand. Aizen only ever used the word extraordinary to describe someone when he really meant it. Even Ulquiorra, one of the original hollows that came from the ashes of Hueco Mundo, got a comment saying he was adequate for our mission. Do you think he might have a crazy talent like Aizen? It would be pretty amazing if Naruto turned out to be a bigger challenge for Aizen's plan than Captain Commander Genryusai Shigekuni Yamamoto. A twist on Jin that would be embraced with enthusiasm. Captain, what should we do about Haribel? Jin wanted to make sure the chat kept going. She's in Hueco Mundo right now. It would be a piece of cake to catch her. Just let her be. Jin had already guessed what Aizen would say. As far as Jin knew, recruiting someone against their will just didn't fit with Aizen's philosophy. Killing Haribel was the other option, but that wouldn't really help them out at all. The silver-haired snake got up from his seat. I'll have Zale keep an eye on her power level. I'm here to help. What do you need assistance with today? So, over at the power plant area, the vice captain of the 8th squad was left beaten, bruised, and drained of Reiatsu. Still, GGIO was convinced that Nanao hadn't thrown in the towel. Actually, her near-death experience just made her resentment even stronger. He crouched down in front of Nanao and gently took hold of her hair, lifting her head up. You seem really hopeful, Miss Vice Captain. What's your secret to staying so resilient all the time? Nanao tightened her jaw, showing her determination. She couldn't shake the thought of dying in such a place. It really haunted her, but the idea of begging for mercy, that was even worse. She glanced over at Rangaku and Toshiro, each caught up in their own intense fights. Defeat wasn't just around the corner, it was already here. The only thing that really saved them was the fact that the students were safe, thanks to Renji sneaking off earlier. You will never. Nanao's voice faded away, her mind giving into the heavy toll of blood loss and exhaustion. Victory. Out of nowhere, GGIO felt a creepy whisper tickle his neck, sending shivers down his spine. Someone had managed to sneak up on him, which he thought was impossible with his sharp Arankar senses. He grabbed the handle of his katana and spun around, slashing with all his might. When he felt nothing from the blade, he smoothly flipped to the side to avoid any counterattack. Nothing really changed, did it? That person just went ahead and made a mockery of him once more. Feeling frustrated and on high alert, GGIO turned around and shot a glare at his opponent, a girl just hanging out behind him, casually holding a katana. Her diamond-shaped mask reminded me of a hollow's, but it didn't have any of those animalistic features. She lifted Nanao onto her shoulder and jumped toward a nearby tower. The turquoise pupils peeking through the horizontal slit of her mask gave off a vibe of chilling resentment. Just wait for your punishment, you twisted pervert. Hold on. She brushed off his call and quickly dashed to the edge of the power zone. Her shunpo was incredibly fast, almost like she was teleporting. She was as quick as he was. GGIO tried to move forward, but Zamari Leroux suddenly stepped in his way. Zamari, what are you up to? Your overconfidence is what allowed her to get away. So, just don't block. Your mission is here. You can't leave until it's done, Zamari said casually, then looked over at the Shinigami, whose aura was a blend of Hollow and Shinigami, but definitely different from an Arankar's Reiatsu. That's really interesting. I really need to let Aizen-sama know about this. GGIO didn't push back against Zamari, knowing he was ranked higher and had more power. Instead, he shifted his anger to another target, Vice Captain Rangaku Matsumoto, who looked a bit distracted, maybe by the mysterious figure that had taken Nanao away. You got this. With a sudden surge of Sonido, GGIO launched a powerful kick right into Rangaku's stomach. The impact knocked her off her feet, and she slammed against the wall with a loud thud. Trying to find her footing again, she grabbed her katana and looked up to meet Gio's gaze. "You really should have dodged to your right," Gio teased, a sly grin spreading across his face as he walked toward her slowly and deliberately. "Or maybe to the left." Lolly couldn't help but laugh at his sarcastic criticism. "You're awesome, Gio. Keep going after her." Rangaku pushed herself up from the ground, but she had a tough time keeping her balance. Blood dripped down her face, and she quickly wiped it away with her sleeve before shooting a glare at Gio. "Do you know where Nanao is?" "Oh, her. I'm really not sure about that. A mysterious girl took her away. By the way, Miss Vice Captain, you might want to keep an eye out for immediate threats, like me." He vanished in a flash, the loud crack of Sonito echoing in his wake. He stepped up to her and drove his knee into her already battered abdomen. The harsh hit took the breath right out of her. She fell to her knees, a look of silent agony etched on her face. To get away from the unbearable pain, she found herself drifting into the happier, sweeter memories of her childhood. "You really should have crossed your arms to block that knee," he said, teasing his opponent a bit. So, she passed. He didn't get to gloat for long. He felt a sudden rush of instincts kicking in, warning him that something was off. He hardly had a second to respond before someone yanked the back of his head and pulled him roughly through the air. Gio spotted his attacker for just a moment, those striking blue eyes and that silver hair, and he knew right away that this person was a serious threat to their mission. A quick thought popped into his head: wasn't he in a fight with Ulquiorra? That question hung in the air as his face met the wall with a harsh thud. Maybe you should have picked different enemies or just stayed in Hueco Mundo. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.